You know what? I'll just say this. Is the grocery store going to get mad at me if I complain about the carts not being returned?
Wait, what?
Like if I come on the podcast and complain about something or talk about something, am I supposed to talk about no people, places, or things while I'm here?
Honey, you've got a big storm coming. Hello everyone, how are you today? I hope you're having a really good day so far. If you're new here, my name is Taylor. This is Star Baby Moonchild. We come to you from Baltimore City, Maryland. And here on my YouTube channel, I wear 2 cardigans at once and usually talk about knitting and spinning. In this week's episode of what I call the Thread to Men podcast, I'm going to sit down and share with you everything that I made in 2024. I made 4 items in 2024 to completion. Of course, I knit on several others, but we'll talk about them at a later date. Today, I'm going to review the things that I knit, what I made them with, what I think about them, and what I would do differently, because I have constructive criticisms for literally almost everything. Star Baby, if you're wondering, is feeling so much better since her tooth extraction. She is back to her old self, calm. Well, I wouldn't say calm, but she's much calmer than she had been. She is very clearly feeling much better. She's such a sweet, sweet girl. And I'm so glad. She feels better. Anyway, I am wearing the Better Waverly cardigan, which was not on my person before I decided to sit down and record today. But I realized I needed to wear it in order to talk about it and tell you a little bit about it. I knit the Better Waverly cardigan with Brooklyn Tweed's shelter yarn. It's their marled, it's the yellow gray marl. I think the colorway is called Caraway. It might be discontinued. I did buy it on sale. And I really love this colorway. I really love yellow and brown. And up close it looks yellow, and from far away it looks brown. So I love that for me. It is a tweedy woolen spun yarn, very light, very lofty. It is a really great base for anyone that has multiple pets because it does obscure the yarn fuzzies, the cat hair, all of the pet hair, in fact. It's covered in cat hair because it is a magnet for such, like many other hand knit items are, but I do find that at a glance it is a bit obscured because of the textural nature. But the reason I knit this pattern was because I wanted a nice oversized cardigan that would fit easily over another sweater. So often it's difficult to layer knits on knits, unless it's like a tank top or something, because the sleeves get stuck in the sleeves. It's just difficult. And I wanted something very open in the upper arm and the forearm. So I have this little puff sleeve moment. And of course it's not sitting properly, but it is cropped. It is oversized, but it also has shaping so that it's not too wide at the back. I hate when sweaters, you can see it kind of sits straight. I hate when sweaters are like very much this. So I added waist shaping to avoid that. And I love the dolman-esque vibe. So probably my favorite cardigan in my wardrobe, my Kingston, is a close second, but that cardigan, because it is a little bit more cropped, I can only wear with certain pants. If I wear it with pants, it's probably a better cardigan to be worn with dresses and skirts because it is so cropped. It's like a very high waist style garment, whereas this one I can wear with any top, bottom, anything at all. And it's my favorite thing I made in 2024. I have just 2 others. The second is the Artus Shawl by Natasha Hornby. I knit this using Jill Draper Makes Stuff fingering weight yarn. I forget the base, in my favorite color. I would guess it's like tobacco or something. Maybe an ochre. I don't know the name of it, but it's the main color here. And then a bunch of yarns from my stash. So I did stash bust for this. In fact, I think I had this in my stash already before I ever planned to knit with it for this project. But I do love this design and I love the outcome. My only criticism of this project, and I hate to crap on everything, but I just feel like the green I chose for the central motif here has a little more blue in it than I wish it had. I simply did not have the yardage to do this section with the same yarn. I had one skein of this and I wanted to knit from my stash entirely. So instead of buying more yarn, I just chose a similar shade and it just is not quite right. I think in retrospect, I could have just gone with an entirely different color and I might have been a little more happy with it, but I wanted to choose shades that were very similar to the original. And I think because they're close but not exact, like it just doesn't give the same feeling, but I still love it. It's still very nice. I still wear it. I think the color palette is like a little slightly off, maybe in more ways than one, because obviously the orange is warm, but the gray, it's like actually very light gray. It looks white, but it's very light gray and dark gray. It's very cool tone. So it's like a weird combination of warm and cool hues that I'm not sure is like my very best example of color combinations, but I was working with my stash. There's something about this that is giving Aztec, and being in central Maryland, or like, you know, not central, but Baltimore, Maryland, there's nothing Aztec about the East Coast. So it just feels a little like different, a little out of place in my wardrobe to a degree. I've been wearing it more than any other shawl because it is my newest shawl, but I could see myself retiring this one day just out of the fact that it doesn't feel like 100% my vibe. I feel like I'm wearing someone else's wardrobe when I wear this. And that's how I feel, honestly. It has everything to do with, I think, the color combinations, and maybe I'll just be a little bit more critical of that before I get going, because so often I'm picking out things and then I'm knitting them, and if I know while I'm knitting it that it's just not quite right, I need to stop and reconsider before I continue on. And I think I was to about here starting the orange and contemplating the green, and I just didn't know. And once that seed is planted in my mind of not knowing, I will forever live with doubt. I am an air sign, so that kind of says everything you need to know. The third of 4 projects I completed in 2024 is the Modern Mukluks, or the Wanderer slippers by Andrea Mowry. I've knit this pattern 4 times now. I will knit it again, and there are modifications I wish I made. I forgot, including what is it? Is it a Turkish braid?
Latvian.
I think I made this correction in my last video. Anyway, I wish I had done something at the top to keep it from rolling, because it does roll and you do see the inside of the colorwork a little bit. I also, at the foot on both slippers, accidentally made the chevron 1 stitch narrower, which obviously you can see, but I just repeated the same mistake on both slippers, so it is what it is. And Brian has been enjoying these. These were part of his Christmas gift this year, and I'm glad I made them. I wish I made them perfectly, but once I finished the first one, I wasn't going to redo it. So there's that. I knit these with a extra skein of yarn that I had left over from my Michelle Wong row cardigan that I knit using Green Mountain Spinneries. I think it's like a Lincoln wool or some sort of breed specific yarn. It's a 2-ply worsted weight, long wool, and a skein of fingering weight from Stephen and Penelope, their bicycle base, held double. So love that for me. Another stash buster here. And the last thing that I knit in 2024, which I'm lying by a single day because I did spend January 1st finishing the toe. I knit the last, I would guess, 2 inches on my second sock on the 1st of the year. So, you know, I'm going to count it. I'm counting it for 2024. But I knit Andrea Mowry's Oxbow Socks. And I'll tell you what I think of these. First of all, I screwed up knitting the pattern and I flip-flopped rows 2 and 3. So instead of having the Oxbow pattern, I have kind of like a seed stitch rib thing going on, which I don't hate. I wish I had followed the instructions. And again, let me just say, in case I haven't already, my criticisms are not of the pattern. My criticisms are of my execution of all of these patterns. So everything I did wrong, it was my fault. It was not the pattern's fault. But a few things I wish I did differently with the sock was I did not.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Join the provisional cast on well enough to hide where the row starts and stops. I wish I'd done that better. Like, I wish I had just done it more carefully because it looks a little messy. And I also knit this sock a little long in the foot because it is a top-down pattern. I knit it a little long in the foot because I read online that when you're knitting socks with woolly yarn, they have a tendency to felt as they are washed and worn and shrink in size. And so someone had said, give yourself the insurance policy of knitting your foot a little longer than you normally would, and your socks will last longer. And I kind of had that thought in the back of my mind as I fit the sock to my foot when I knit. And if I pull the socks on nice and tight, they fit exactly as I would like them to fit. They feel exactly as I would like them to feel. But when I'm wearing my socks, they slip down my foot just enough that I feel like they're too long in the toe and too short in the cuff. So there was a slight, like, 1/4 inch difference in, I think, the foot and the cuff, or the leg of the sock, that I would like to adjust the next time I knit socks. Granted, I haven't knit socks in quite a while, and I think, given the fact that this is kind of like my first sock in a very long time, I think I did fine just by finishing. But I'm not, like, obsessed. I'm not in love. I'm not really excited to even wear them. I'm glad to have them, but they're not, like, my favorite sock. And it's just because they feel too long. They feel like they're slipping off my foot. And I don't know, maybe that just is, maybe they're just not the right sock for me. I don't know. The one pair of socks that I've knit, and I've knit 3 or 4 pairs of socks now, but the one socks that fit me and never flop off my feet are 4-ply fingering weight. I think they might be like a merino nylon base. In fact, I think they're here. But they are the Afterthought heel. And I did blow this out, and I told myself I would repair it, but then I decided I wasn't going to because I don't feel like it. And the yarn I used isn't really this color anymore, so it would be silly to patch it with the original red. But anyway, these are the only socks that don't slide off my feet. So I would like to re-knit a pair of socks that are maybe with an Afterthought heel. I think that just works a little bit better for estimating, like, how long to knit the foot, I think. I don't know. I think maybe I might knit my next pair of socks toe up. That way I can get the foot length right. And then I can, like, try on the foot and the leg at the same time not overestimating like how much of that length is the foot and how much of it is the leg. Because again, when I hike them up and I pull them up onto my foot, they feel perfect. They're exactly the length I want. It's exactly the foot I want. But as you can see, like I misjudged where to put the heel. So it's like I overcompensated, I think, with extending the foot. Anyway, I'm just not sure. Also, because these socks are, I think, a Dorset wool. This is a 3 or 4 ply fingering weight base from Jill Draper. It's the perfect sock yarn. They are a little bit scratchy, kind of itchy, sort of very sensory on my feet, which is perfect for winter socks. But of course I knit a short style leg. So it's like I knit myself a spring summer sock in a fall winter wool. So I'm gonna re-knit this pattern one day with a different style of yarn. But that's that. And I'm not finished with this yet, but I have been working on it again. I found my knitting mojo, and who knew that knitting mojo comes along with a new series to watch. I found my knitting mojo through the form of Gossip Girl, which is a TV series from I think the early aughts, starring Blake Lively, who is in a bit of a scandal with Justin Baldoni. Don't know if you heard about it, but something about all that inspired me to watch Gossip Girl because I saw it advertised on Netflix, and oh my goodness, the show is absolutely captivating. I'm only in season 2. There are 6 seasons, and I'm literally excited to finish recording this video so that I can turn on Gossip Girl and keep on watching, because it is like very good. It's a very good show. It is, I mean, I've spoiled it for myself already because at, I think the season 1 cliffhanger, or maybe the start of season 2, I was just like, how did that just happen now? And then Brett and I were reading Wikipedia or the internet to find out how things transpire in future episodes. So I've already spoiled it for myself. I will not spoil it for you, but it is a series. I wonder if you've watched. I wonder what series you might be watching right now as you continue to knit into the year of 2025. And that's all I really got right now. I have been well. All of my animals are on the mend. Life is a little simpler now that I don't have a feral cat in my bathroom. I don't know if I even told you about that, but I had another feral cat sick with a double ear infection, and he needed eye drops for his conjunctivitis, so I had to keep him quarantined for 3 times daily eye drops, which were so easy to administer because he is such a good boy, and they trimmed his nails at the veterinary clinic. So he was taken care of. We did a fundraiser for Show Your Soft Side on Instagram. We raised hundreds of dollars, I think over $500 this time around, which was a huge win, especially around the holiday season, because it was like right before Christmas. And so many of you donated to that. And so many of you are so generous here online to support Show Your Soft Side and their Street Kitty Fund, which helps to provide medical care for all kinds of cats living on the streets of Baltimore. And aside from that, you probably know Star Baby had her infected tooth, and we had that extracted. I tell you what, she was a demon of chaos. When she came home from surgery. They would have kept her an extra day to kind of just come out of anesthesia, but because of the holiday, they did send her home with me, which I was not upset, by in the least. But it was crazy. It was chaotic. She was an animal, a wild, fumbling animal, and not like herself. So I'm glad that's over and done with, but I'm ready to, I think I need to like sage and burn some sweetgrass in my life to kind of just clear the air of 2024. It was a rough year for me personally. My dad was in and out of many hospitals, and I had to fly to Florida 4 times to see him and spend time with him in the last few months of his life. So kind of just getting past all that now, finally. And it's January, and I have an issue because I need to put away my Christmas decorations. And this morning I was downstairs and I was reflecting on how I need to pick up and put these things back in storage. And I was just ruminating on Taylor Swift's lyrics in that song where she says, we can leave the Christmas lights up until January. I know a lot of people have criticized her for this lyric, but this is the criticism I have, because I know the song was originally written to say we could leave the Christmas lights up until April or something, and it just didn't make sense to leave it that way because it didn't sound right. And I get that January sounds better, but wouldn't it have been better if she said we could leave the Christmas lights up through January? Because then it's a little more reasonable to leave Christmas lights up through the month after a holiday versus like 5 days after. It is only January 4th, and I feel like a lazy POS for having Christmas books out. Like, I just need to calm down and put Gossip Girl on the television, because I'm just so exhausted by like the current events of the world, and I'm just overwhelmed. I'm just sad and depressed about genocide and things happening everyone continues to ignore. That is it for this week's episode of the Threadsmen podcast. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you want to find me on social media, my name is Taylor E. Owen on Ravelry and Instagram. You can find me on TikTok as Taylor Knits. I hope you have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and that you take care.
Because United Health has bought up every link in the healthcare chain, you are now in a position to jack up prices, squeeze competitors, hide revenues, and pressure doctors to put profits ahead of patients. United Health is a monopoly on steroids. The opportunities for price gouging are everywhere. For example, United Health is the biggest participant in Medicare Advantage, the government program that pays private insurers to administer Medicare benefits. With this web of subsidiaries, United Health is well positioned to rake in more taxpayer money by using a practice called upcoding to make enrollees look sicker. That is, noticing that a patient has a cane and adding a diagnosis of vascular disease to the medical chart, even if there's no clinical basis for the diagnosis and no treatment planned. Mr. Whitty, according to a 2019 investigation by the HHS Inspector General, United Health was far and away the most aggressive abuser of upcoding practices. Do you know how much, according to the Inspector General, United Health cheated taxpayers out of in 2017?
Thank you for the question. I'm not familiar with that particular piece of work.
The number is $3.7 billion. And that's in just a single year, and that's from only 2 upcoding practices. You know, that was 5 years ago. Now, as we speak, is United Health under investigation from the DOJ for, among other things, your billing practices?
Senator, thank you for your question. We have a long-standing practice of not commenting on matters such as that or things like mergers and acquisitions.
Well, I understand why you might not want to comment on it. Public reporting from the Wall Street Journal confirms that it is, although your company has not disclosed this investigation. In fact, yesterday I sent the SEC a letter raising concerns about over $100 million in stock sales that United Health executives made in the days and weeks before the investigation was revealed by the press. And I'd like to make that part of the hearing record if I can.